started. All right, joining me on the line here at the Almighty Church of Rock, the one and only drummer for Adrenaline O.D, Dave Scott. Dave, it's great to have you here, man.
Great to be here, Derek. Thank you very much for having me.
You know, what's weird about us is we had a little bit of weird history back in 1985. Of course, I was fronting a band called Bloody Mess and Hate. I'm sorry, Bloody Mess and Hate. And you, of course, were traveling around with AOD, touring the country. And we ended up in a town together called Champaign, Illinois. And
yes.
There was some kind of church, right?
That is correct. That is correct. We played in the hall of the church. And then I remember making out with some girl in the actual church itself and feeling very sacrilegious while doing it. It was a very weird situation.
Well, that's awesome. That night, my band actually fell apart, and I ended up coming there with my bass player, Jeff. If you remember him, he looked like he stepped out of Van Halen, and I had a big and so I played bass in my band Hate. So we show up there, and we decide to make a band up to open up for AOD, and we decide to call the band Pissing Blood. And this guy named Andrew from a band called The Breeders playing acoustic guitar, Jeff on the bass, me on vocals, and you said, hey, I'll play drums. And you sat in on the drums, and we did a weird set that I had on tape up until 4 years ago when these fires hit out here.
Was it covers? I don't even remember. Did we just mix together some like songs we never knew?
Like it was like a Flipper cover, maybe like Sex Bomb for 20 minutes, 10 minutes. It was like Happy Trails. It was crazy, weird stuff, but done punk rock.
Yeah. I remember the second time that we played with you, I think like everybody in the freaking audience was on acid at that show. AOD ended up picking up like for $50 like an entire sheet of acid, and I was straight edge back then, so I wasn't partaking, but that really got its money's worth across the country on that tour.
Wow, the wacky hijinks of Adrenaline O.D. So
exactly,
we'll know what we're talking about. The second time we ran across each other was just a couple of weeks at most, I think, or a month at most. After the Champaign show, it might have even been a week. We were on the bill in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and we didn't know we were on the bill with Adrenaline Overdose again.
Yep.
Adrenaline O.D. And that was awesome. What a crazy show. That
was a fun show. That was a good time. That's the town I was talking about, where everybody seemed like they were on acid at that show. That just I remember meeting a guy that day named Johnny Rainbow, and he gave me his business card, and it said Johnny Rainbow, and that's all it said. A very strange bunch of people there, and I remember beer being super, super cheap there too, like a quarter at the bar.
Johnny Rainbow, oh my God, you just triggered a couple of memories. That guy was one of the trippiest people in Kenosha, man.
Yes. And he had like a saying, and I can't remember it now, but like we were doing his saying like for like months after like meeting him. It was he had some weird slogan. It'll come to me, hopefully.
Wild, man. I remember going to his house one time. Somebody took me, Dean Dirt from 1096 took me to his house, and that was a very trippy, surreal experience.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, let's go back in time a little bit, dude. For the folks that are listening that know about you, they already know, but the people that are just going, hey, who's AOD? When did you guys start?
The band started in October of '81 was our first show. So, it's been a long time. And we evolved out of another band that was around since early '80, I think, called the East Patterson Boys Choir, which I wasn't part of, but I managed them. And Paul from AOD, Jack from AOD, and Bruce from AOD all were in that band. That was a more of a punk rock band before hardcore. Wow, when that band broke up, me and Paul really wanted to start a hardcore band. We were listening to a lot of the California stuff. We went to see the Bad Brains, and that just blew our minds. And at that point, we wanted to start the fastest hardcore band we could possibly start.
Well, you succeeded, man, because you guys' music is legendary. I've been listening to your music all week on YouTube, getting ready for this chat. And it was so cool to get refreshed and hear the stuff that I used to listen to years ago. You know how it
Yeah.
is, kind of some things slip away and then you get reacquainted later.
Sure, absolutely. You know, the funny thing about these songs, though, is like, they were written, when I was 15, 16, 17, 18. Trying to play them at these reunion shows now as a 59-year-old makes me want to go into a hot tub time machine back in time, walk up to my former self and smack him in the head and tell him to slow the fuck down. Oops, sorry, slow down. You'll have to cut that. But, it's not easy. It's at least 3.5 months of real training to get in shape for these AOD shows.
I can't imagine. How many albums do you have out total?
Let me see. The pink one, the yellow one, the gold one, and the awful one. I think there was 4 in total, and then a billion compilations and a mess of EPs and 45s. But as far as full lengths go, I think we had 4, if I'm not mistaken. And then later on, like all kinds of stuff got reissued, and some demos came out as albums too. So the discography has grown massively over the internet era.
That's one good thing about social media, is that the sharing of music's awesome.
Yes. When the blog scene first started, all of the punk rock records that I had that I ended up selling because I needed the money, I ended up getting back digitally. And there's really very little that I had at one point that I haven't gotten back into my collection and put on my iPod so I could always listen to it now,
That is true. You really don't need to have CDs or records, except for on some occasions where stuff is mega, mega rare, but most of it finds its way onto YouTube at least.
Yeah, I moved to Florida with a truck full of records. And, once eBay really took off and there was, all these collectors from other countries looking for American stuff, I couldn't pass up the offers I was getting. I was paying my rent. So, and I had all the Misfits record, all the Discord records, some really rare stuff, the first Germs,
Danger House records.
Oh yeah, I love the Danger House stuff, the Avengers and the Weirdos.
Yeah. Yeah. You got a new book out, man. Why don't you tell everybody the title of your book and a little bit about the book, if you would?
Okay, the book is called If It's Tuesday, This Must Be Walla Walla, The Wacky History of Adrenaline O.D. And it basically covers the entire history of the band and how we started and how we ended up and, what happened to us post-AOD. And it's really written a lot like the band. It's very fast stories. If you have, an attention deficit problem, you're not going to have a problem reading this book. There's a lot of pictures and a lot of flyers, and it's very, very, very funny because the band was very funny. So it's like getting a bird's eye view of what it was like to be on tour all those years and with a bunch of your smart ass friends, with nobody watching over you, no chaperones. I was pretty young when I started touring, I think I was like 18, 19 when we really started hitting the road. But even before that, I would get off high school on Fridays to play like weekend shows in like DC or Western Massachusetts. So, I started young.
I imagine you probably played with a lot of pretty legendary bands.
A lot of them. There's very few that we haven't played with, but we played with Dead Kennedys and Circle Jerks and Fear, and we played with the Ramones, and we played with Faith No More, and there's just a lot of like all the old hardcore bands, because we started off, as one of the first bands on that scene. So like when A7 Club happened, we got to see Reagan Youth and Urban Waste and the Beastie Boys when they were still punk, and Antidote, and touring the country, got to play with great bands like SNFU and Poison Idea and Battalion of Saints and the Rhythm Pigs and the Dicks, DOA. I mean, you name it, I think we played with them. And as a kid growing up, as a major fan of this kind of music, every day was just a fascinating adventure for me, especially on the road. We after that show that we played with you, I think the very next day we played a Sportsman's Hall in Milwaukee Green Bay with DOA and the Dicks. It was like, what a great time. What a great time. And after that show, we were at an after party at this guy's house, and Doc Dart was there from the Crusoe Blanks, who we were big fans of. And we got to meet a lot of our, I wouldn't say heroes, but our peers and the people we looked up to. I got to be pretty good friends with Biafra and Keith Morris over the years, So, I got to know the Misfits early on because they were the band in the town next to me, So I've been to Glenn's house when he lived with his parents, and I've been to Jerry and Doyle's house when they lived with their parents. I've had a charmed punk rock life. Do
you remember Rosemary's Babies, Eerie Vaughn's?
Oh, absolutely. Those guys were friends of mine. Their singer JR was a good friend of mine. In fact, we would go out sometimes in one of their cars. Those guys would dress up like the Droogs from Clockwork Orange, and they drive around Lodi with baseball bats playing mailbox baseball and knocking the mailboxes off and driving off. They really got into that Clockwork Orange movie a little heavy, if you ask me.
It's a punk rock sport.
Yes. That were fun.
I saw a cool picture of you with Marky Ramone from a convention that I guess you guys were both doing.
Yeah, this was the punk rock flea market in New Jersey the year before I did it. He was the reason I pretty much did it. I was walking around with an AOD vest, and people were coming up to me left and right and taking selfies. And I guess the guy that booked it was like, why is this guy getting all these selfies? And, the people I hired to sign autographs are sitting here by themselves, So the next time they did it, they asked me to do it. Marky was really bored that night, so we struck up a conversation. And I got to talk to him for a long time and just pick his brain, which was interesting. We had played with the Ramones before, but I don't think he was in the band at that time. I think they had replaced him for a little bit, so he wasn't part of that show. And opening for the Ramones, that was a weird thing too, because I just remember sharing a dressing room with them, and we were so psyched to meet the Ramones. And Johnny had his chair facing us and just like gave us the stink eye the whole time, It was like, what the hell? And apparently that's what he does. He tries to intimidate the opening bands, But
I got to be honest with you, man. I'm a big Ramones nut too. I've never heard a lot of good stuff about Johnny personally, really.
Yeah, he was kind of a very, very he was the dictator of the Ramones. Let's just put it that way, He made the rules. So
you must have played with him when Richie Ramone was with him, I'm guessing.
It probably was. It was like 85, 86, 87, somewhere in that area. And I remember they had some really big, muscular roadie comes up to us before we go on, and they had their light stands, which they stand on top of. Their Ramones risers set up on each side of the stage. But I had to set my drums up in front of their drums in between these two risers. So my bass drum was literally on the edge of the stage. And a couple times during that performance, the audience had to pick up my bass drum because it fell into the crowd and put it back up. But going back to this muscular roadie of theirs, he warned the guys in AOD not to touch the risers, not to step on them. If we did anything like that, he was going to turn off the power, and that's the end of our set. So, naturally, you tell a bunch of wise-ass, punk rockers from New Jersey, don't do something. So I remember Bruce from AOD kept putting his foot like about an inch away, and he's like, should I do it? Should I do it? And the whole crowd's like, yeah. It was pretty funny. And then the Ramones ended up seeing us, and their set was 3 times as fast as any time they probably ever played before, because they were trying to keep up with the hardcore thing at that time.
Wow.
Very sloppy. It wasn't not a very good scene for him. In fact, I had seen Marky Ramone's band, Marky Ramone's Blitzkrieg, not too long ago, about a year ago, and they were so much better than the Ramones when I saw them. I was like, good for him. He's got like the perfect singer in this band who, is not wearing a wig and trying to be Joey, but he sounds like him and he's physically built like him. And they, you close your eyes and it's like hearing the records. They were so freaking good. And I told him, it's like, God bless you. You got the perfect situation here. It's like, you're the only guy left. People still want to hear these songs, and you have got the best Ramones cover band I've ever heard in my life. So good for you, man.
Hey, how can people pick up your book, man?
You can get it from DeWolf. That's DIWULF.com. That's my publishing company out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's also available on Amazon if you're out of the country and want to get it, the shipping a little bit cheaper. You can get it from Amazon too.
So do these come autographed?
If I had autographed some, every time I go up to the New Jersey area, I try to get some, books that I could sign. If anybody wants an autographed copy and you purchase it through DeWolf, let them know and we'll figure out a way to get one to you.
Awesome. That's super cool of you, man. I'm going to grab a copy and I'm hoping everyone will consider doing the same. Yeah, man. Can I ask you, it's a generic question, but who are some of your favorite punk bands off the top of your head?
The Damned, the Dickies, and the Dictators. I like bands with D's. Those are the big D's for me, man.
Yeah, well, those are all great choices. One of my daughters actually met the Damned up in Portland a couple nights ago. Sends over a picture with rat scabies. Oh, that's pretty cool. A minute later, there's a picture of her with Dave Vanian. A minute later, Sensible. I'm like, man, awesome.
That is freaking cool. Unfortunately for me, the night that we had done an AOD reunion, this is about 2 weeks ago now, the Damned were playing New York that night. So I really wanted to see them with that lineup. I haven't seen the Rat Scabies playing with them in a long time. So, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Well, man, it's been great to talk to you, brother. I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite albums by ADRENALIN O.D, my friends, is called The Wacky Hijinks of, which Dave referred to as the pink one. It's a good album, but all their stuff is on YouTube, and get the new book, of course, available at DeWolf, like he said. And I really appreciate you taking some time to chat with me on the show today, bro.
It's great to talk to you again, Derek.
Yeah, man. Most of my friends call me Bloody, but you can call me Derek too.
Okay, Bloody. That's what I knew you as back in the day.
Well, when I got in radio, my manager said, I know who you are from the papers. I don't like you, but because I was his tenant. He goes, I like you, but I don't like Bloody and the stuff you do on stage and all that kind of thing. So on my radio station, you cannot use that name. You have to come up with another nickname. So that's when I created Derek Moody. That's the story. And I'm sticking to it.
When Melania came off the airplane wearing that Be Best jacket, I thought you should have done the same with a Be Mess jacket. It would have been perfect.
What a great marketing idea.
There you go, dude. There you go. That's why I make the big bucks.
Well, what's the name of the book again?
If it's Tuesday, this must be Walla Walla, The Wacky History of ADRENALIN O.D. on DeWolf Publishing. I'm working on a screenplay now. It's going to be made into a major motion picture soon. So get ready for that. That's way funnier than the book. It's coming along great.
If you need any bloody messes, let me know, man.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Okay, my friend. Have a good one, my friend, and you have a great rest of your day.
Arrivederci.
Muchas gracias.
Take care.
See you, brother.
Bye.